What's up, y'all? You're now listening to the What Now podcast. I'm Dr. Spencer Dupre, owner of Empower Chiropractic.
And I am Dr. Zach Thompson, owner of Within Chiropractic. The purpose of this podcast is to document and share the experiences of two young business owners as we open our own brick-and-mortar chiropractic practices. Join along as we discuss all of our wins, our losses, insights, and the many, many lessons we learned.
As a disclaimer, none of this is ever intended to be medical, legal, or financial advice.
What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to episode 6 of the What Now podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Spencer Dupree, practicing out of Argyle, Texas. Today, we are blessed and super excited. We have our first special guest episode and really excited to dive in and carry on the conversation from last week. So we'll get right into it. Today, we have Justin Winstead. Justin has spent over 20 years in business, leadership, and personal growth, and is passionate about sharing his knowledge and experience to help people and teams be better and accomplish more. For those that partner with Justin, you'll have a coach to help you improve, discern, discover, and really allow yourself to reach your true potential. Justin spent over, like we already mentioned, 20 years in business, was a former youth pastor. We might dive into that, as well as a Goosehead insurance broker, and was uber successful in that realm as well. And now he's looking to build up other business owners locally as well as globally. And so we're super excited to have Justin join us. Justin, if you wouldn't mind, what would you say is your major accomplishment up to this point?
Hey, man, thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate the invite and excited about what you guys are doing here on this podcast and trying to just be authentic and real and share with people your journey and just encourage each other along the way. And so excited to see the future for you guys. What was your question again?
Yeah. So we'll start off. We'll go right into it. First question is what's been your most major accomplishment up to this point?
Oh, man. So I'll just tell you, with the Improver group, we're always kind of dividing things into the personal and professional categories. And so I'm going to do that and just say that, my wife and family is my greatest personal accomplishment. We've, been married going on 15 years now, and I've got 2 bio kiddos. And a few years back, God led us to bring in 2 more kids out of the foster system that we are aiming to adopt. And we recently got an adoption date for the next few weeks. And so, just the fact that, I've got a wife that I love, and at least I think she loves me. And I've got 4 kiddos that we're keeping alive, and we're feeding them and putting clothes on their back. And, for all intents and purposes, they are really fantastic children. And I just look on that with a lot of pride in my life. It's like, man, there was a lot of things in life I was confused about who I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to do. But one thing I always knew is I was supposed to be a loving husband and dad, and I'm living that out. So that's my greatest personal accomplishment. As far as my greatest professional one, that one's a little bit tricky because, there are some significant impacts that I've been able to make, and those are very personal. But as far as what a lot of people are interested in is, being able to build businesses. And my most recent business that I sold was a 7-figure sale, and was debt free in that business. Ran it with 0 credit, with 0 debt, and sold it for 7 figures after 7.5 years of building that business. And so a lot of people are like, man, that's pretty cool to do that in your 30s. So that's a pretty cool professional accomplishment.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely pretty cool. I'm excited to dive into that a bit more as well. If you wouldn't mind, let the listeners know, what is the mission, what's the driving force behind Improver Group, and where that came from?
Yeah. Well, this may sound a little bit cliche, but in the deepest depths of my heart, like when I think about my purpose in life, part of it is to leave the world better than the way I found it. I feel like Scripture calls us to be salt and light, and both of those things are better mechanisms. Salt makes things taste better, and it preserves it. Light makes things better by allowing you to see and illuminate your way. It protects, it provides, and I think we're called to be salt and light, and so that means we're supposed to make the world better. And so the broad part of my vision is, man, just leave the world better. than when I found it. Narrowing that down a little bit more, what that looks like is helping people in the business world to win personally and professionally. We're creating a network, and really it's a movement that in the coming years we hope sweeps the nation and even the world, where people actually use the word improver as one of the words, like we use the word leader now. If you were to rewind the clock back to the word leader 100, 150 years ago, and you're talking to the oil and gas moguls, the very beginning of the manufacturing movement, maybe the leaders in agriculture, if they said the word leader, that wouldn't have meant a lot to them. They would have thought about the front runner in a race, or maybe the first person on a battlefield, but there wouldn't have been this charismatic person taking a group, a company, an organization forward. But yet we think about leader in different ways now. We think about somebody with integrity, with charisma, with boldness, with courage. Like, we all have these ideas of a leader. Why? Well, it's because there was a movement created by people like Zig Ziglar and John Maxwell and Dave Ramsey and others who have encouraged and equipped people to be leaders. We want to do that for the word improver. We want to create a huge movement of people who say, you know what, I'm an improver. I'm put on this planet to make myself better, to make my family better, and to make this world better, including business.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm fired up for sure.
Yeah.
Spencer, I know he is too. Man, that's awesome. Spencer, what do you got for him?
So like, what are some of the like the next coming action steps, like for Improver Group? Like, how can, as someone who is just meeting you, I know you're good people because you're from Louisiana, but, so therefore I inherently trust you. But, for someone who isn't involved with Improver Group, like, what does Improver Group have to offer, like, for small businesses? And like, one, how do I get involved? And so therefore, how do other businesses get involved?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so we're in phase one of the movement right now. And so the Improver Group right now has three main branches that we are focusing on. One of them is improver.coach. The other is improver.network. And the last one is improver investments. So just really quickly, improver.coach is me going out and I do workshops, I do keynotes, I work with teams and individuals on kind of an ad hoc contract basis. So you're like, hey, I want to do a team outing, or I want to do a strategic offsite, or hey, I just need to go have coffee and have a coach for a couple of hours that I hire out. That's under the improver.coach umbrella. I use three main tools in that: the full focus planner certification to help people bring their vision into daily steps and bring them to reality. I use Ziglar's programs that are Choose to Win and See You at the Top. So those are a lot about motivation and getting the right habits in life. And then I have a certification through the Table Group and Patrick Lencioni with the 6 types of working genius. And that's really about discovering your makeup and how you're created, and not just what are you good at, but what brings you energy and joy in your work. And so once you find those things out and create that self-awareness, you can be more productive. So that's all under the Improver Coach umbrella. Under the Improver Network umbrella, that's our membership-based platform for people who need something a little more consistent. They don't need the ad hoc workshop or one-off thing. They need something on a regular basis. So we offer 3 levels of membership there, where you can get just content. You can get content and community, that's live and virtual events. And then you can get content, community, and coaching, which includes quarterly one-on-ones, a book club, monthly coaching calls, quarterly workshops. So based on what you're needing in your growth, whether you just need information, whether you need friends, or whether you need a coach, we offer that through the network. And then the last thing is the Improver Investments. And that's where the people, especially that I'm coaching and networking with, sometimes they need more than just information and wisdom and guidance and encouragement. Sometimes they need resources, and that usually is cash. And so I will invest my own money into helping entrepreneurs and small business owners grow in exchange for either profit, equity share, or ownership stake. So that's the 3 things we're doing now. Our next phase of the Improver Group includes an events branch, a media branch, a marketing branch, where we're going to offer these as services to our members to help them grow their businesses.
Super, super excited to watch that movement. And I know, quick testimonial for you, we met, 2 months ago at a chamber event locally, and we hit it off immediately. And I was like, this guy, there's something different about this guy and your energy. I just wanted to be around you. And I know I can speak, being a part of the Improver Group now for maybe a month and a half. It was worth it just getting the full focus planner and having your guidance on how to really optimize that. That's been huge for me the last few weeks in practice, is just every day, every night, like getting down and like, what are my tasks? What are the tasks needed to push the practice further? So huge testimonial.
Yeah.
If you're someone that is needing that, definitely advise.
Yeah. And let me just add a little note onto that too. Sometimes when people hear planner, they think, man, why do I need a physical paper planner in this digital world? I've got something that keeps up with my appointments and I've got things that help me with my to-dos. That's not what this planner is about. This is not about your appointments and your to-do list. This is about being intentional with planning your vision and reverse engineering that vision into daily steps that require your focus and willpower to accomplish. It's about prioritizing the important over the urgent. And that's what the planner is really good at. And so if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me. But you can also go to my website for the planner specifically is thefullfocusplanner.com. Add the in front of it, thefullfocusplanner.com. You can learn all about it there, and you can even order the planners online.
Super, super cool. Yeah, go ahead, Spence.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. That's like something like I totally have never heard of before. And it sounds like you're really like a one-of-a-kind, like niche type of all-inclusive business-focused thing. And it sounds like a lot of your things are like geared toward building like quality characteristics of a business owner, not necessarily like telling you like do X, do Y, do Z, but it's like develop this, develop Y, develop Z, so you can have the skills like to succeed in business. And last week, Zach and I kind of talked about why we chose to open up and versus associate and as a doctor of chiropractic, and like the qualities that we checked in with ourselves. So as someone who is a coach and a guide and a mentor, what do you think are some qualities of a good business owner, and how do you know if you have them necessarily, and like what can you do to help develop those?
Yeah, man, that's a fantastic question. One of the things that comes to my mind, and I'm around a lot of business owners, of course, and they always bring up this thing. In fact, Dr. Zach and I were at a meeting earlier this week where it came up, and they were talking about interviewing team members or employees for open positions in your company. And one of the things they always say is like, hey, I can train a person on the technical aspects of the job I'm hiring them for. I look at who are they as a person. Do they have the hunger? Do they have the grit? Do they have the right spirit, the right attitude? Do they have all of that? And good business owners realize that when you hire someone, it's really about more who they are as a person than a professional. Because if they're the right person, you can train them to be the right professional, right? So the irony of this whole deal is there's a massive blind spot with business owners where they forget that exact same thing applies to them. As a business owner, we get so wrapped up into the technicalities of our business and our profession that we forget to work on ourselves as a person. So one of the things that comes to mind when you say that is that a business owner, to become the right professional, they need to be the right person. And a lot of times trying to grow the business, people ignore the personal side of what they do. And so they aren't getting rest. They aren't eating right. They aren't exercising. They're not going to the chiropractor. They're not doing those things. Yeah. And so, they're not taking care of their wellness. And so it makes them a poorer professional in that. So that's something that I always look for. And that's why a lot of our business coaching, we lump together life and business coaching, because to me, I can't coach. I'm not here to like consult businesses. There's business consultants out there that are very statistical, fact-based. Let me just go and give you some science behind things. But that's not really just about the formulas of 1, 2, and 3. We need to back up a little bit and say, who are you as a person? Because your biggest battle is not your business. It's not the competition. It's not the economy. Your biggest battle is between your ears. Every day, the person I brush my teeth with, that guy in the mirror, he's my problem. And if I can fix him, my business stuff will take care of itself. And so the ability to look introspectively, to be able to gather feedback, to consistently put yourselves in situations where you're absorbing content and coaching, that's to me the most important trait that a business person could have, because it really boils down to being able to evolve. And I'll share a quick story with you if you don't mind. But a few years ago here in the DFW Metroplex, I got to connect with Robert Herjavec. And I don't know if that name rings a bell to you, but he's one of the guys on Shark Tank. Yeah, Shark Tank guy. And really, he was at an entrepreneur conference, and it was really neat. He said something that really I thought was awesome. And he said that him and the Sharks were off air one day, and they were talking about what is the common characteristic all of us have in common. Like we're guys, we're girls, we're different races, we're different educational backgrounds, we're from different countries of origin. We all have different industries we're involved in, but yet we've all been wildly successful in life and business. Why? And so they started talking, throwing out these words and phrases. And there was always at least one of the Sharks that was like, nah, that one really doesn't fit me. And so I think one of them was hard work. Like, you got to be just a really, really hard worker. And Robert Herjavec was like, guys, I'll tell you, I work really efficiently with systems. And he's like, I don't know if it's super efficient or super lazy, but I don't like work. He's like, part of my success has been not wanting to work. And then somebody said, you know what? It's really just a passion for our businesses and our products and our services. Mr. Wonderful said, guys, I'm not passionate about that stuff. I'm just greedy. Like, he just confessed it. Like, I'm just greedy. Like, that was his thing. So they couldn't find a word. And then one day they arrived on a word, and they all looked at each other and nodded and said, that's it. And the word was adaptability. Adaptability. And they said, you know what? If you dropped any of us off in the middle of the jungle in Africa with nothing but the clothes on our back, and we were just there by ourselves, we wouldn't whine, we wouldn't complain, we wouldn't make excuses or blame shift. We would just look around, we would brush ourselves off, and we would get to work building a multi-million-dollar business out there. We would just figure it out, and I love that attitude of adaptability and just being willing and able to roll with the punches and just change and adjust and do what you need to do to win.
That's exactly what we do.
Yeah, so chiropractic. It's tough not to make that mention, but that's an amazing story. And with that said, having been working with you and reading the 6 types of working genius, I'm sorry if I get that wrong every time I say it out loud, but talk to us a little bit more about your journey. How did you start your insurance company, and like this was you the whole way? What were some of the things that you had to adapt to when you first started?
Yeah, well, first off, if we back the clock back way in the history here, we mentioned Louisiana. So 15 years ago, I was in Louisiana. I'd been doing ministry. I did, as you mentioned it on the top of the show, I did youth ministry. I actually did church planting. I was a associate pastor of a church, but I was also the head pastor of a church plant. And so there was a lot of ministry nonprofit work that I was involved in. And I was raised really poor. There were people that were poorer than us, but we certainly didn't have a lot of money. I can remember looking through the floor of the trailer house I grew up in as a kid, and I could see the ground underneath because we didn't have a solid flooring. And one time a snake got in the house and it came in through that hole. And it was just a weird deal, but it's the way we grew up. My dad was a high school dropout, really hard worker, great guy, but we just didn't have a lot of money. And so I had this idea that money is bad and rich people are evil. And if you were successful in business, you cheated your way to get there. And so that was my mentality. Well, then I came out to Fort Worth to finish out my seminary degree. That's what brought me to Texas, was working on my master's. And one of the things that I had to adapt to was God said, hey, you're not going back to join ministry in Louisiana like you think. We told our family we'll be here a year and a half, and then we're coming back home. And that was 13 years ago. And so what ended up happening is God said, you're going to go learn business, then you're going to do it, and you're going to use that to be the fuel for your ministry. So there was a ton of adapting in my mind that I had to change my philosophy of the way I viewed money, the way I viewed business, the way I viewed business people, the way I viewed my time and my talent. And everything shifted for me at that time. And, at the end of the day, I'm still a country boy at heart, but I've had to change a lot of things about my country boy Louisiana roots in order to win in business. I can't believe that I don't mow my own yard anymore. There is a great feeling from pushing the lawnmower and doing the weed eater, Amen. Looking back over a fresh cut lawn. I love it, but I just realized I've got limited time that I've got to build my business and build my family. And as much as I like doing that, it's worth it for me to let that go and let someone else do it and be a blessing to them and their family. And that's the kind of stuff that I could have never dreamed of doing with my former mindset, but bringing others around me, being willing to pay people to do things I can do, but they can do better. And it's helping me and helping them. So that's something I've had to adapt to, realizing that money can be evil if you chase after it and love it and you thirst after it and it drives you. Money can be really bad, but also money can be really good if you use it as a tool. And if you take away its power and you say that, you know what, I own it, it doesn't own me, and I can use this to help people. Those types of mindset shifts are some of the things that I've adapted to. But then I'm always learning new stuff. Like in this past week, I've spent over $5,000 on some technology to bring into our office that I have no idea if I'm going to use, and I really have never played with it. And like, some of this stuff, I don't know if you've heard of a Vibe board, but like one of these things is like a digital whiteboard where you can like Zoom call, and I mean, it's all kind of fun stuff. I don't know how to work that stuff, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go learn. I'm going to teach. I'm going to figure it out and adapt. And if I can use it, I'm going to use it. If I don't, then I'll get rid of it and go to the next thing and figure out something that works.
That's really cool. How would you, if we go to the money topic, right? I know for chiropractors, a common conversation is we want to serve out of abundance. And I know coming out of school, a lot of chiropractors struggle with, well, I don't want to charge too much, right? I don't feel I'm worth the cost of $65 a visit or whatever it is. I'm not sure if that's something, in the insurance world, but how would you coach someone that's struggling in that mindset?
Yeah, man, that's a big one. And a lot of it, of course, is going to be contextual. But one of the mindsets that I would say that does have to shift is I love Stephen Covey and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of my favorite parts of that book is where he highlights the win-win mindset. And there are some people out there that they are just super greedy and they're just selfish, and we hate buying from those people. We can just feel it that they're just there using us so they can get their sale. That is some people out there. But what I see, especially here in the South, more than that is the opposite ends. So that mindset is a win-lose mindset. I win, but you lose, right? Well, the flip of that is I lose and you win. And there's a lot more of that down here in the South where everybody looks out for one another and we're willing to give and sacrifice for one another. And there's more of a community feel. The problem is that long term, you can't sustain yourself or your business if you're losing and they're always winning. So the thing is you got to create a win-win situation. What is something that is fair to me, that really is worth my time and it is my value, but it's also affordable and it's something that's a win for them. And you got to realize that there is no single win-win situation for everybody. Like there's not a one price point where everyone's going to get the win-win. And you're not going to get the win-win on a single price point. So you've got to figure that out as like what really is fair. And once you figure it out, like this feels like a win to them. And we know this because I'm getting feedback. People are letting me know. I'm getting new customers in and it's a win for me. Then you got something. And part of the way that you justify a higher price point is by giving them more value, because they're willing to pay more price if they're getting more value from you. So don't be afraid to invest in yourself and in your business in a way that brings value to them, because then you're able to charge more and you can do that guilt-free because this is an equitable exchange. One of my favorite quotes is from Rabbi Daniel Lapin, and he said, when you trade dollars, the dollars are certificates of appreciation with presidents' faces on them. Like they're really just saying like, Dr. Zach, I appreciate you so much for that adjustment and helping me feel better and getting rid of that pain. Let me give you this certificate of appreciation. And the more someone appreciates you, the more they're willing to give you in certificates. So you've got to build up the appreciation. You serve people, add tremendous value, and then charge what that's worth. And you'll approach it in a win-win and open that dialogue up. Like ask people, if you're trying to figure out your pricing model, say, hey, here's what would be a win for me, but tell me, what does it need to be a win for you? Or maybe ask them that on the front side, like what would be a win for you? If I could solve this pain, how much is that worth to you? If I could get your focus back, if I can help you with skin issue, if I can help you with posture, like what would be the amount over what period of time would that be worth to you? And if let them create their own price in a way. And once you get enough of a baseline on that, now this is my value.
I think that's a really good point that you've helped me with in kind of dissecting my current systems and the initial intake is like, how can we uncover those short-term and long-term goals to then, add even more value, right? Not only is it a connection piece, but really get to see like, why are they sitting in your office and why are like they now wanting to receive care? And how can we start to get some measurable things? So yeah, that's awesome stuff.
And you got to be able to lead with what their pain point is. Like, what is their struggle? So helping them define success and failure, and then if you can aid them in the success, what is that aid worth? You're not the hero of the story. They are the hero. This is about them winning. You're going to help them win. And what's the value of that? And I think it's, and of course you look at market conditions as well. And then the biggest thing is be able to gather feedback. But I'll say where a lot of young business owners and first-time business owners make their mistakes is they shortchange themselves. They think by charging less, that's going to bring in more people. Instead, some people see it as cheap, or you're not really worth the amount. They do that, or they don't have a wide enough reach, so they feel desperate, and so they're willing just to compromise so much on what they think their price should be. So instead of compromising on your price, expand your reach, get your name out there more, get out, meet more people, like work harder. Don't lower your price. Do extra to add more value. Don't lower your price point.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, something that Zach and I were talking about before we started recording is like the necessity for a team, right? We both just started out like just us. And I mean, you talk to people who don't own their own business and they're like, well, you're just going to front all the work. You're going to do the marketing. You're going to do the finances. You're going to do the technical work. You're going to do the development and the networking, et cetera, until you're making, I don't know, what, $1 million or something, right? Like until you can, quote, afford it. All right. That's what, like being from Louisiana, right? It's like a lot of people, we don't do things until we can, quote, afford it, meaning having like money in the bank. And we don't set that initial investment to then bring more value to people's experience. And something my coach like was talking about is like hiring a team way before like you even think you can, quote, afford it. So, and I know like building a team helps build customer experience and just the whole overall effectiveness of your building. So like, what are some tips for like team building, and how do you know like, okay, this is a place I need to hire this, and just like the general rules of team building?
Yeah, man, we could do a whole separate podcast and probably a multiple deal on them. But the first couple of things that come into mind is when you build a team, people have this weird thing on feeling like they've got to be a W-2 or a 1099 person in order for them to be a part of my team. And when you're a solopreneur or a new business owner, bring in people that are a part of your inner circle that may not be a W-2 or 1099 person. Like having people that help you in business does not mean that they're technically an employee. And so you can have a team without having employees. Now, ideally, you're going to get to where you do have team members that are working. And I don't like to say work for you. I like to say work with you. But you get team members working with you in the business. But at the beginning, starting out with some other people who can just advise you differently is valuable. And you may never exchange any dollars. So getting in a mastermind type group or having a coach, that is a way of adding someone to your team. But also you want to think of every service that you pay for. This is like an extension of my team. And so if I'm hiring this company out, I'm hiring them. They may not be a W-2 or 1099, but this is a team member, and I need to evaluate everything through the lens. Like this person's coming in to sell you an alarm service or to sell you, a marketing service. Like interview them in a sense the same way you would interview an employee on there. But then also when you get to the thing where it's like, actually, I need somebody in my office that is on my team, but I can't afford to pay them yet, try to find other ways to add value to them. It may be possible that they're willing to do a barter system in some way, not as an employee, but like as a contractor, like, hey, you need these results. I need something over here. You can provide this other thing I need that maybe isn't even dollars. Let's work out a deal. And there are tons of people right now that are looking for things in their work that don't necessarily have a dollar sign attached to it. And so that's the way you can get going with your team. The only other thing I would add to this, just on this particular show, is that you want to hire the people who obviously have different skill sets and also personalities. People know, well, hey, I'm good at this task and not good at this one, but they don't really think about how that fits culture, personality, vision, buy-in. And so you want to hire slow, and then you want to get rid of people fast if you're finding that they're not fitting that vision. So I love the 6 types of working genius, because it tells you this is what your areas of natural talent and strength is, and also what energizes you and brings you joy. Find people that you bring onto your team that don't have those. That way it makes you more well-rounded, because you need all six geniuses are necessary for you to have really productive work with energy and joy. And until you have all six geniuses, you're going to be missing one. So start incorporating people who have those, but at the beginning, you may not be able to hire them as an employee, but you may be able to bring them into your circle and benefit from their genius.
Super, super good. Out of curiosity, what are your two geniuses? And then how did you go about discovering that? And what are key traits you're looking forward to bring onto your team?
Yeah, so the two geniuses out of the 6 types of working genius that I have are wonder and discernment. And by the way, everybody has 2. There's 6 geniuses. You have 2 of the 6. Then 2 of the 6 are competencies, meaning you're good at that thing, but it drains you and it still tires you when you do it. And then 2 of the 6 are things that you're not great at and they're frustrating and they take your energy and joy. And so my 2 geniuses, things I'm good at and bring me energy and joy, are the genius of wonder and the genius of discernment. So the genius of wonder allows you to consider possibilities and potentials and risk and potential outcomes that most people can't see. It allows you to see vision that most people don't have. You may not know how to get to that vision, but you see the vision, And so that's the wonder genius. The genius of discernment helps to weigh out the solutions, plans, ideas around like a vision or an idea or invention. And so I love to weigh things out. When you pair those 2 geniuses together, in the working genius world, we call that you're a contemplative counselor. So that's my 2 geniuses, as I'm a contemplative counselor. So that's what I really bring to people, as a coach. Other geniuses include things like invention, galvanizing, enablement. So invention geniuses are super creative at coming up with all the solutions that you need. I help people discover solutions, but I don't usually create the solutions for them. I don't know what your logo should look like. I don't know the software. I don't know how to build the thing you need. I'll ask you questions to help you discover that, but I don't have the invention genius. Enablement genius is someone who comes along someone and is super affirming and encouraging and a great listener, almost like a therapist in a way. Then they want to assist someone in the actual carrying out of their vision. They want to be hands-on in delivering that. I want to guide you on it, advise you on it, but I don't really want to take out the trash at your open house, right? That's just not me. So I don't have that deal. And so what's good is I surround myself with people who have the invention genius. And when I say, hey, I see a possibility here, they say, I've got an idea around that possibility. Once we discern that, someone else comes along and says, hey, I'll help you carry that thing out. I'm going to assist you in that. I'll do the tedious behind the scenes work to bring that to light. And so you need all of these in there, and none of us are good at all 6 areas.
Super, super, super good. I think we have time for one more question, Spence, if you got one. I know, if you're listening, you're definitely going to want to re-listen to this, grab a notebook and get to work. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I have like a billion questions, honestly. But before we end, instead of doing it at the end, can you let our listeners know where to find you on the socials and how to get connected with you again?
Yeah, so the 2 best ways to find us right now is you can look us up online or on Facebook, and you can look up me personally as Improver Coach. So the website is improver.coach, improver.coach. And then for our network is improver.network. improver.network. And so if you go on Facebook, it's the Improver Coach. And if you go on Facebook, it's Improver Network. So that'd be the 2 ways to connect with me or the network, as it were. And so you can also email me at justin@improver.coach.
Phenomenal. Zach, you have any questions?
Yeah, I guess the last piece of the last question I'd have is looking into planning and getting ready to take a business from, okay, I got the doors open, things are going well. What are some blind spots you see with people you've coached as well as in your past where it's like, I didn't know what was going to happen 3 years down the road, and I wish I had done that in year 1, 2 to get ready for it?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of something we haven't already addressed, because a lot of it is the ignoring your personal health and wellness and growth things. A lot of people think, you know what, just while I'm building the business at the beginning, I'm not going to sleep as much. And by the way, I'll kind of take this as opportunity to plug my disdain for the hustle fallacy. This idea that like you just got to work harder and you just got to grit, and look, there are times I'm in a season of that right now as we're launched. I am working harder, but I'm also balancing that with rest and exercise and nutrition. I'm doing that. But there's this idea that skipping lunch and not sleeping. And in fact, when I first got into business, there was a coach that is fairly well known across the country, and he's got a tagline that says sleep is for suckers. And like that's his whole coaching program is built on sleep is for suckers. He's like, you gotta grind it out. You're getting to bed at 1 a.m. and you're up at 5 a.m. and that's just what you do. You gotta do that for years. I think that's baloney. And one of the things that new business owners sometimes get wrong is I got to build the business. I got to just hustle and work harder, and I got to do it all on my own instead of being patient with it, doing what's important, not just what's urgent, but taking care of yourself. If you go on a road trip and you're just continue to drive and you don't put fuel and you don't put oil in your vehicle, you're eventually going to break down on the side of the road. And that's what happens with business owners. The two biggest reasons a lot of businesses fail isn't because they didn't have a good idea, a good logo, a good service or product. It's because they ran out of cash before they could really get ramped up, and so they just can't survive. Then they start having to work other things, and the business just doesn't make it. So they start too early with not enough money, and that's just a real deal. And the other one, though, is that people get discouraged, they get depressed, and they just give up hope. And so most people that close their business, they just give up hope. And it's not because their business is really bad. It's because they've not taken care of themselves as a whole person, as the owner, as the entrepreneur. And that's bled over into the way they view the business. Their mindset is wrong. So changing the content that goes in, the community that you put yourself in, and the coaches and other people you allow to speak into your life helps all of that and helps you avoid those mistakes. It keeps you fueled up for the long run.
Man, that's so good. I know I needed to hear that. I'm a big hustle harder. I'm not like I sleep all the time, so that's not a problem for me, but definitely in that hustle culture. So, thank you for that reminder. And again, super, super appreciate you hopping on to the podcast. Guys, go back and listen to this, take some notes, reach out to Justin, get the full focus planner, six geniuses or 6 working types of genius. Can't ever get it right.
Yeah.
But get plugged in. And Justin, don't want to force you into it, but I'm sure our listeners are going to want you back, and we're excited for a potential part 2. Yeah.
Would love to be on there. And by the way, the website for the geniuses is mygeniuscoach.com, mygeniuscoach.com. You can actually take the assessment there right now for only $25. It'll tell you your 2 geniuses, but would love to, be back on and visit with you guys in the future. Love what you're doing. And we hope all those listening out there, hopefully you're starting to identify yourself as an improver. Hey, I want to be better. I want to live better, work better, and make the world a better place.
That's awesome.
Man, Justin, Thank you so much. It's always great to hear Louisiana boys making it out and doing good things in the world, man. It's super inspired by your faith, the way that you love and cherish your family, and also your business. You're obviously super successful, super passionate, and still going. Thank you so much for being on, and I'll see you soon at the Improver Group stuff for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, man. Catch you later.
Yeah, awesome.